dude.
Same as I'm on the mountain, dude.
Seriously, I'm
40,000
like,
feet.
I'm thinking about that point where the trees just go away and it's just flat,
Yeah.
level ground, and
Dude,
there's,
okay, so
you're above
let me
the
paint this picture
clouds.
for you even better. So you get up to the Pecos Baldy, and you can go up to Truchas, which is another peak that's right there next to it. Two adjacent peaks, essentially right beside each other, miles apart, but they look like they're right next to each other, at least a mile apart, probably even more than that. But anyway, you get up to it, and it's the southern tip of the Rockies. And if you know anything about the geography of the United States, is on the eastern side of that mountain range, lush green forest, rolling hills and rivers, and just beautiful picturesque environment, like something you would see out of the Shire of Middle Earth in Lord of the Rings, right? And then you see on the western side, and it is just the most barren desert wasteland picture that you've ever seen. So you're literally on the continental divide of the United States in two climates, to where on the east it's lush green and absolutely beautiful, and on the west it's nothing but desert as far as you can see. And it is just one of the most incredible experiences that I've ever had. And if you if you ever get the chance, guys, I'll meet me there. Let's go. Whatever.
Dude,
do,
seriously,
it, man.
if I could fly out of this country, I would leave this country. I will be a one-way ticket, and I will be in America. Absolutely. And as soon as that can happen, I will be there.
Dude, seriously,
Yeah,
well,
get
I'm
to the
down.
top.
Let's start planning in August, man, because it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yes.
I'm serious, Rick. If you get right now, let's plan on doing it, because I need somebody to go, and I can't let it go any longer.
Vibrations are already going. It's already in the works.
Okay.
I can see us. We're going to be on top of that thing.
And it doesn't cost anything, man, other than just a little bit of gear to be able to sustain yourself. And then,
I travel light.
some nutrient bars and stuff like that, granola bars, stuff like that.
Med kit.
Red beans and rice in a bag. You can throw into some boiling water. You know what I mean?
I just need to snort some antiparasitics. We'll be all right.
David Paulides' phone number.
Speaking of antiparasitics, if you want to flush your body of toxins and of cancers and dead cells and stuff like that, just do a 3-day nothing but water fast. What you can do after 48 hours of 3 days nothing but water, your body exponentially increases the amount of stem cells it produces on a regular basis. So let's just say you produce 100,000 stem cells in a day, which isn't the number. I'm using basic, just basic numbers to explain what I'm trying to get across here. Yeah. After the 48-hour mark of ingesting nothing but water, your body increases from 100,000 stem cells produced in let's just say a day, to 1 million in a day.
Wow.
Now, the numbers are actually a lot higher and a lot more drastic than that, but just to get people to understand, that's what happens. And what happens is, at that point, your body starts to consume any dead cells in your body and any cancer cells, because it doesn't have any nutrients otherwise once you get past that point. And that's why so many spiritual leaders throughout all of our history have been strong advocates on fasting and how beneficial it is to your body and fasting on a regular basis.
Friend of mine in the gym done it last week, dude, seriously, and she said it was absolutely amazing.
I've done it.
She couldn't sleep afterwards. She couldn't sleep. She got like 3 hours sleep and then got up and just went off on a
tremendous amounts of energy. I've never had more energy in my entire life.
4-mile run, just like
3
that.
days.
She doesn't do 4-mile runs. Yeah.
And I had more energy in the second day to third day than I thought than I really felt like I'd ever experienced in my life. I mean, it was complete detox from caffeine, nothing but just pure water, and that's it. And it was fantastic. And I'm a strong advocate. I mean, everybody's got their own medical deals and stuff. I'm not telling you how to live your life, but for me, I'm talking about my experience, and it was incredible. And I'm going to do it again. My plan, I did it last year. I did it the year before. So I've done it once a year for 3 days now. And this will be my third year doing it. And I actually want to get to the point where I'd like to fast at least 2 days, at least once a month. And, I plan on doing that. But another thing that I do too, we're talking about biohacking and getting back to the basics. How more basic can it be than ingesting nutrients that are actually healthy for our body in the correct levels, so that we can essentially min-max the nutrients that we bring in to maximize our output and our potential based upon the way that our body is supposed to operate at an optimal level. And people don't really do that. If you're eating nothing but fast food every day, and you're eating nothing but sugar every day, and all these different nutrients that aren't, it's okay in small quantities, but what you're doing in such large amounts is constantly poisoning yourself. What happens on a cellular level is you're starving your body nutriently. So you're not actually hungry. In most cases, you're actually craving the nutrients that you aren't obtaining because of the horrible food that you're getting. So it might be calorie dense, but it's actually nutriently not dense. So that's the problem. And most people in today, why they are getting obese and getting out of shape and overweight and stuff like that, is because they are not putting the proper nutrients in their body to work efficiently. And if you switch that, not only does it help you physically, it also helps you mentally. And when you're mentally healthy, you're in return going to be physically healthy, because we're not two parts of our body. It's all one. Yeah. And they work in tandem with one another. They're like, oh, I got to get in the gym and, this, that, and the other. Well, what people don't realize is your body's 90% what you eat and maybe 10% what you do in the gym. But if you're not getting that 90% of the nutrients that you need when you go to the gym and you're in there, 5 days a week and 2 hours at a time, you're not going to get the results that you want. And it's just everybody trying to cram this secret pill down their throat and think that they're going to get this miraculous cure, just like with the pharmaceuticals nowadays. But if you're not living your life the right way, it's not going to make any difference. And it's not just about that nutrients that you intake, because the positive mindset you have is just as much a contributing factor to your overall health as anything else. And that's what I've been really trying to do for the last at least 3 years, as far as the physical aspect, being back in the gym more so than I have been in the last 10. But about 6 years ago, my wife and I completely switched to where we, for the most part, consume nothing but organic and non-GMO, because we don't want to subject ourselves to these chemicals that are in all aspects of our society, not just the pollution that we see in the world and cars and inhalants and stuff like that, but also the type of nutrients that we intake so that our body can operate at the optimal level. Herbicides, pesticides, and all these things that are sprayed on our food, and the synthetic hormones that are injected into the animals that we eat. Most of the meat we eat, caught, shot, or raised ourselves. That's literally what we eat nowadays. And we've been progressing towards that for the damn near the last 6 years. And then, we grow a garden, and a lot of ways that we can fix ourselves and get out of this societal control and this mechanism the government is using to keep us enslaved is one of the biggest mechanisms is food. And that food pushes us to these medical facilities and these pharmaceuticals. And this is one of the biggest ways that you can get outside of this technocracy control, is just by stepping away and changing the way that your lifestyle is and how you eat and how you exercise.
How are the products that you're eating GM products, genetically?
Non-GMO, yeah, right, yeah.
You'll find as well that, like, we'll say a bowl of nutrients from 30 years ago, 40 years ago, we'll just say vegetable, okay? Get the exact same vegetables in another bowl, put them on a weighing scale, and you'll find the density is like this from 40 years ago, because this stuff has less nutrients. It looks like it, but it's not it. From over-farmed soil and mass production over farm soil. So an awful lot of people out there may listen to us right now and go, oh, Jesus, that's not even realistic. How can I get away from that stuff? Farmers markets are just fabulous. They're absolutely fabulous. And if you could just take the time to look at the products that you are eating when you are in a store, take a look at the ingredients, take a look at how things are farmed, you can make a difference in your life. You can get healthier, because American society as a whole has an extremely unhealthy diet propagated by government, and it's sugar and oil based. It's addictive. When you mix those measures, wow, the addictive rate is just, it's off the scale. It's off the scale. And people do find that they are addicted to these things. They do not know why. And yeah, it leads to self-destruction, we'll say, in many ways. But you can break away from these things. You absolutely can. You just have to want to.
One of the ways that we started doing it, pursuing healthier foods, is just to kind of wean ourselves off of those unhealthier types of foods that we were eating. And I can't say that we've always been incredibly drawn to those unhealthy types of foods and boxed foods and stuff like that. But even if we do indulge or something like that from time to time, we still try to limit it to, if there's more than 5 ingredients on something that we're purchasing, we don't purchase it.
Yeah.
We just don't do it. Now there's sometimes that we make occasions, like I think tonight we're going to make some homemade pizza. It's more of a special occasion type of thing.
Yeah, I just had some.
You know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
you know, obviously it's going to be hard to get outside of those types of things whenever you have these processed foods. But another thing that we're going to do with the homemade pizza is I've got organic wheat flour and organic white flour. I'm going to mix the two, and I'm going to make my own dough. So raw ingredients in it as often as
that makes such a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah. And, you know, we're going to put a little bit of yeast in it and stuff, and we're going to make our own bread here at the house. We'll set it up about 2 hours before, and it's fun for the kids to get involved and stuff like that. And and it really teaches them to be able to think about whenever you became a college student right out of high school as a man, and you grew up, your mother cooked your food, or however it happened as a child, you're finally out on your own, and then you go to Taco Bell, and then you go to Pizza Hut, and you go to, you know, get Totino's pizza rolls from whatever store, or you get all this quick TV dinner food shit that, you know, I don't want to cook. I don't know how to cook. I never learned that. I'll get around to it sometime. Well, I mean, that is what's contributing to all of our, you know, low testosterone as men, because we get out on our own. We don't know how to take care of ourselves. We don't know how to feed ourselves and get the right nutrients. And think about this: if we can teach our kids and have this type of cooking experiences with our children at home, like making homemade pizza. We make homemade bread all the time. My mother got a cookbook for me for Christmas.
That's such a winner, dude. That's
and then
in the kitchen.
My daughter and we literally are filming videos for distribution online of she and I going through this cookbook and cooking these recipes right now. Awesome. And we're doing, we filmed our last one, or our first one the other day. And so these are things that I'm trying to make fun for my children so that I can be that change. My children can be that change that we ultimately want to see in society to make us all healthy, you know, comparatively to what we experienced or grew up in. And I mean, the boomers, when you think about it, my parents were in that factory setting. They grew up in that factory setting where they went from all that home cooked food gradually through the middle of part of their life to where everything was, you buy it off the shelf. It's canned this, it's canned boxed that, you know, the convenience. It was all about, oh, it's more efficient. It's ready made. It's all this, you know, fast industrial age. And now I'm trying to get us to go back in the other direction, because convenience and stuff like that is good, but it's not always the right path to take. Efficiency is good, but it's not always the right path to take.
Went a little too far, I'd say.
Right.
Yeah. You know what you could show your kids? Great satisfaction. Making your own pizza and actually filling the sauce all the way up to the edges.
Thank you. Wow.
That's a winner right there. Satisfaction I got the first time I did that. I nearly wept with joy.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it?
And I'm like, for the love and honor of God, you not know how to make a pizza. Like, please, people, fill it up to the edges. What's all this crust going out into the trash?
Just a big old log of bread.
At least stuff it with some cheese or something. If you can't sauce it right.
Anything, just fill it.
I just placed another order for 50 meat chickens. So I had to get on a waiting list for a local hatchery. It's a family-ran hatchery in Texas. And I'm going to run down and pick them up. But it's $1 a bird, which is cheaper than I can get in a lot of these factory farms. And but anyway, I just put an order in online. I had to send them an email. And I can't remember the name off the top of my head. I'll try and look it up here in a minute, you know, give them a shout out. But a family farm in Texas, just over the border from Oklahoma, and for 100 meat chickens. Last year, I raised and butchered 50. I raised them in about 18 weeks, full grown, and they are fat meat chickens. I moved them on fresh grass every day, fed them non-GMO chicken feed. And what I did, instead of feeding them out of a I just lost the word.
A trough.
Trough. Good Lord. instead of feeding them out of a trough, instead of feeding them out of a trough.
Christmas is it's almost 10 months away. I'll get you a dictionary.
Thanks, brother.
No, you're good.
Oh my goodness.
We've all been
Why did
slipping
I
the
miss
words.
that word. So anyway, I grew up on a farm.
It's kind of like a
Ben.
trough. I'm trying to think of it.
We all had to go. I know, right?
I don't even know what word I said. I said broth, I think. Well, we have been making our own homemade broth, but anyway, trough. Golly, that's ridiculous. But anyway, so instead of feeding them out of a trough, the word is trough.
Yeah.
I broadcast the seed over the ground, so they're constantly scratching. And a problem with these meat birds, this specific variety, is that if you feed them out of a trough and you have them on an auto feeder, they'll literally lay there on the ground in their own manure, won't get up, break their legs because they'll eat so much and they're gain so much weight so fast their bones can't keep up. And that's what all these factory farms are doing, is they have them in these really long rectangular buildings. And when you go in these, I've actually visited these factory farms of this large scale agricultural business, and you can see documentaries online. You walk in and there's standing room only for these chickens from birth to when they're raised to full grown, and they're constantly living and breathing each other's manure and so on. Well, the way that I raise the same breed, which has been bred together with multiple types of chickens to grow fast and produce a large breast, no synthetic hormones, no nothing like that. But what I do is I have a perimeter fence that's electrified with a solar panel. It's 4 foot tall, and it's a plastic netting that's woven with aluminum wire. And then I hook these solar panel electrodes to it to keep out predators, obviously. And I stake it down, and it's just very movable. So once a week, I move the entire perimeter fence. But during the week, I move their little chicken coop that's mobile inside of it where they sleep at night to a new spot every day. I broadcast the seed outside when I let them out, and they eat on the ground and they scratch throughout the day and they move around and eat the grass and eat the bugs. And then at night, I will feed them in a trough inside that hangs inside the coop so that they're not using the restroom in it. And then I'll move them every day. Well, at 18 weeks, I had 50 full grown, 15-pound, after being cleaned, meat birds. And we packaged them and we put them into our freezers in the garage. And now we have chicken for about 2 chickens a month for the entire year. And I'm telling you, man, it's incredible.
Like on the mass-produced chickens, and people who would go into their stores and just buy them and not even give it a second thought and go home and ingest that, you're also ingesting all of their massive stress trauma hormones.
100%.
Putting that into your body. You can I do this myself. I buy free ranging corn fed. When I do, the only things I will say meat wise anymore would be the occasional piece of fish and this free range chicken. And I do clearings. I do conscious clearing prayer of thanks on these meals that I have every time. And the taste difference is provable. It's really tangible. It's real. You can do this. I give thanks for my food.
I could give you a perfect example too. If I was able to see you in person, come to my house, I could put a store-bought factory farm raised, even the better quality, the better quality you can buy in the store. I can sit that one and I can put mine side by side, and you can take a bite of each one and you will taste the clear difference. There's no denying it. There's no getting around it. And 95% of people are ingesting this factory farm raised, and not only the negative effect that it's having on our environment. And don't get me wrong, Rick and I had this conversation yesterday that, don't get me wrong, I'll chop down a tree to stay warm, but I'm not going to just clear cut my entire property just because I want to make the money off the sales of the wood. But what I'm saying is that there are a clear impact to our environment that we are having in the world. And, I hate how this conservation mentality is been hijacked by this tree hugger movement and so on. And conservatives aren't allowed to talk about this. And I've seen this as like a common occurrence in a lot of, you don't want to do renewable energy because, they're just trying to destroy the petroleum industry and destroy the oil industry.
Oh my gosh, right.
We're not allowed to talk about it.
So
and I'm
wrong.
like, come on, man. I grew up on a farm. I've raised my animals. You could arguably say that I'm a 5th generation farmer, and I still know the necessity of, conserving and taking care of the environment. If you rotationally graze your cattle, you're not going to overgraze the land. You're not going to have as many parasites that those cows ingest, meaning that you're not going to be able to have to inject them with more pharmaceuticals, because if you rotationally graze them, they're not going to be eating that grass right beside their cow manure that the flies lay the larva in, which is what gives them the parasites in the first place. Rotationally graze them, the grass grows better. It's not being as highly stressed, and it's a lot healthier. And these are conservation techniques that seemingly in the conservative realm, a lot of people aren't doing, because they're like, oh, we're a farmer and we got to do factory farming and we can't change the way we've been doing it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it type of deal. And I'm like, come on, man. I'm not a 5th generation factory farmer, but I am a 5th generation farmer, and I try to do it as conservatively as possible to conserve what God has given us, what we have been given by the Creator, and taking care of it in the right way. We can still ingest meats. We can still, you know what I mean?
Native land people used to do that before America got whitewashed, excuse the pun, with Europeans.
No, it's good.
Only give back to the land, take only what you need and give back.
Exactly.
That is definitely a way forward. Where you're talking about the large conglomerate farming or so on and so forth, I found it rather interesting that just a couple of months ago that these people are caught in a trap as well when it comes to large farming. That the current administration in America told the farmers that they must destroy crops, and this was YouTubed by the farmers. They must destroy their crops, or they will not get any more government subsidies. Now, farmers do not have massive wealth. What they do rely on are government subsidies at the beginning of the year to be able to buy the seed, which rather interestingly now is owned by GM companies and corporations. They own the
Monsanto, that was just bought by Johnson and Johnson.
Gosh, go figure that out.
Nothing to see there, guys.
And there's Bill Gates then after going and being allowed to buy a big massive swathe of land all the way through the center of America.
He's the number one
largest
private farm owner in the United States.
Seriously? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with these people? Seriously.
Even celebrity. Look at celebrity land ownership too, just to jump right in there. We've talked about that in the past, where I think Nicole Kidman's a fun one to look at. She owns like some outrageous amount of land in Australia for some whatever reason. The Kidman family, they own all of this land in Australia. Why? Why would you just have swaths of land in Australia? I live in this country. I can't even get land.
Yeah.
No, you're not allowed. No, we're not allowed at all. Why? Because George Carlin put it beautifully. He said, it's their game and you're not in it.
Yes.
True story. Farmers were having to destroy their their crops to create shortages on purpose across America, pushed by the current administration on the threat you will not get your subsidy to buy the seed for the grounding next year. True story.
Yeah.
And they were paid 1.6%. We'll just say if it's $1,000 per acre, they were given 1,600 to destroy it.
Videos of destroyed cropland.
Horrific.
I haven't seen it in person, but I have seen the videos online, and there's no reason that I can see that anybody would fictionally put out these videos.
No, you're kidding me. Farmers are probably some of the most honest people you will ever meet. Why? Because they're still connected to the land and they're not traumatized by society. They're traumatized by government, yes.
I mean, and there's a lot. I mean, we could go into have an episode on this at all just to try to make people more aware of what's going on. But a lot of these farmers are forcibly turned towards these GMO feeds crops. Because what happens is you've got somebody, a farmer next to you that for whatever reason has decided to go and get their seed from companies like Monsanto, and that specializes in genetically modified Roundup ready plants that are Roundup ready, meaning that if you spray Roundup on it to kill the weeds and bugs and stuff like that, the crop itself isn't going to be negatively affected in the fact that it's going to die from that Roundup. It'll still grow, but what you're doing is you're ingesting that feed that has that poison, or that has that carcinogenic poison on it whenever it's ingested and turned into grains and turned into cereals and turned into any type of product down the line. What happens is that they are invasive. So whenever that plant comes to maturity and starts pollinating. The wind blows into the adjacent field that also is a corn grower, but doesn't source their seed from Monsanto. It's a more, natural heirloom type seed, and they get cross-pollinated. And what happens is those Monsanto inspectors can come into your land and find out that you have been pollinated by their plants, and then now they can confiscate and sue you because you have their plant and you didn't pay for it. And it's what it is a what's the word I'm looking for? It's a not trademark, but it's a patented. And then they can confiscate you. They can sue you, confiscate your crops. They can sue you. And a lot of times what they do is they say, okay, we're not going to sue you. We'll go ahead and settle, but the condition is you have to start utilizing our seed. So then they start utilizing Monsanto's seed, which has now recently been purchased by, we know the great company Johnson & Johnson that's responsible for creating baby powder that they knew was causing cancer in babies, creating a vaccine that has since been pulled off the market because of all the blood clots it's been giving millions of people all over the world. Now they just purchased this GMO company that is Monsanto, that's responsible for creating Agent Orange that was spread across Vietnam in the Vietnam War. This poison creating company that is now creating crops that are being grown all over the United States and confiscating other traditional farmers' crops through legal loopholes. Now they're the ones that are in control of all the crop generation in the United States. But then put on top of that, the US government is telling many crop owners and growers to destroy their crops and without giving them any reason, and saying, if you don't, you're not going to get any subsidies to buy your seed for the next growing season.
That's a recipe for their profit.
Yeah, you think we should all just move to South America where the weather is infinitely better?
Shit, man, I don't know. I might go find some Caribbean island and just weather the
jungle sounds
hurricanes.
Nice. Or a sailboat. I'll take a sailboat.
So
yeah.
No, man, I think there's hope.
I'm gonna call you the patriarch of poultry now after hearing all this.
I've got 12 cows too, man. I had 3 calves born this year. Should have had 4.
Nice.
But
you want to get
the
some
4th
sheep?
didn't make it. I'm actually.
I hear
get some
wool is
sheep.
pretty lucrative, honestly.
Our goal this year as a family is to get some sheep and some pigs. And the reason why is because there's a symbiotic relationship in this type of small scale agriculture. And the reason being is because when you rotationally graze your cows, you move them to a new pasture. The whole argument is you want to move them on a 21-day cycle, because the gestation cycle of a fly larva, essentially the parasites, after 21 days have already died off. Okay,
dude, you're going to have to consider ducks like the Chinese do. They have masses of ducks for the paddy fields where the rice is. It keeps down the pests. No pests.
Weeds and bugs. Yeah.
Rice. Eats the bugs.
We free range our chickens and we run our chickens on fresh grass every day. And what happens is you rotate the cows out on that 21-day cycle. It keeps them out of the fly larva ridden cow patties and keeps them out of the parasite. It doesn't overstress the grazing land. And by the time you get all the way back to the beginning of where you started, your grass is already regrown. So on a smaller amount of land, you can increase the grazing potential by 10% per animal, per livestock. And so it regrows, it's a lot healthier. You're getting better nutrients into the soil, better grass, less parasites. Well, what happens is you move those cows, and then right after that, you move the sheep in, and the sheep eat what the cows won't, and parasites don't cross species. So then they have a different type of fertilizer with their manure on the ground. Then you rotate them out, and behind them, you rotate the chickens, and the chickens eat the fly larvae that are in the cow patties that are deliberately laid by the flies. And so they scratch. So the chickens are 3 days back behind the cows because you want to eat that fly larva before the flies hatch. With the
you know your
chickens
stuff, buddy.
And then at the end,
did you just say that the virus starters between, we'll say, a cow and a sheep will not cross-pollinate?
They won't cross. No.
Don't let Fauci hear you.
And then I know, right? And then what you do is you have the pigs, and you run the pigs underneath all of your forests. We need more forests and less trees what happens is there's not enough sunlight coming in to penetrate that soil to actually increase the grass growth underneath there. So you need to thin it out. Any small trees you need to get rid of, and big trees you need to keep, spread them out to where they're about 10 feet apart, and you're going to have healthier land. It's going to retain more soil or retain more water. And these are all, you know, natural ways of agriculture that have been done for hundreds, thousands of years throughout humanity's history. But with the modernization of farming, large-scale agriculture, and livestock farming, they've been destroyed. And that's what's contributed to a lot of the different negative aspects of our, you know, and pollution of our waterways, and the destruction of our soils from overgrazing and synthetic fertilization and so on. And if we would all just go back to this, you know, those people that live in the country start producing this way when you can, and those that live in the city start going out to the country to these farmers markets, we could completely eliminate the destruction to our environment and our way of life and a lot of the toxins in our food if more people would just go back to this way of living.
You want to talk big picture there?
That's even without the government say so. It's a choice of your own.
Right. Awesome. And another thing too is that, you know, even in a neighborhood, in a city, you know, unless you're forced to not have chickens in your backyard, we could cut down on 18% of the waste in our landfills just by throwing out our food scraps to our chickens in the backyard. And you could have 2 chickens. You don't need 30 chickens in the backyard. You could have 5. Not only are you going to get a healthy supply of meat whenever you need it, if you need to cull the flock, but then also you're going to get a healthy supply of eggs that haven't been sprayed with chemicals to wash them before they're put into the stores. Because a lot of people don't realize this, but the USSDA, what they do is FDA, what they do is force these large-scale agricultural farmers, because of these pathogens that are produced in these types of environments, they force them to give meats and eggs chlorine baths before they can go into the stores.
Yeah,
and that's the meats alone, the raw meat. Like literally, you cut a breast off a chicken, it gets a chlorine bath and then doused with water. That meat is still absorbing that chlorine. So you're ingesting meat that has chlorine in it, whether it's chicken, whether it's pig, whether it's meat, doesn't matter. And then if you give a chlorine bath to an egg, the shell of an egg is porous. It absorbs whatever you put on it. And what people don't realize is you can store an egg right out of a chicken on a shelf and it'll be fine at room temperature for at least a month, because whenever an egg is actually laid from a chicken, there's a membrane of mucus that is on outside of that shell that protects it from any type of outside penetrating toxins or any type of virus and stuff like that. And what happens is not only are those eggs absorbing those chemicals that they're washed with before they go into the supermarket, whenever they go into the supermarket, after that happens, they no longer have the protection, that natural protection to keep toxins out of that egg. So you're ingesting an egg that has chlorine and other chemicals in it, but then any type of cleaner that's sprayed inside those refrigerator cabinets inside the supermarkets, anything that has come in contact from that egg after it was washed with chlorine, anything, it's being absorbed into that egg. And that's what people don't realize. And whenever you're ingesting milk, that ultra pasteurized milk in these stores, that's a dead food that you're eating now. It's literally a dead food. It has nowhere near the nutrient value that it had whenever it was that organic milk directly out of the cow. We actually, we source our food from local farmers as much as possible. I'll just say that because, there's a lot of things going on to where people are being prosecuted because of eating natural food. And there's a lot of ailments that can be cured by eating more naturally. And like I said, guys, I'll go out, drink beer. I'll go out to the restaurant every once in a while. We try to once or twice a month go to a restaurant, take the kids out and something like that as an event. But it can't be a way of life to where it's 4 or 5 times a week going to.
It can't be how you sustain your diet.
And that's what so many people are doing, not here just in the United States, but less so in a lot of the other countries that I've visited over my lifetime. I lived in South Korea for 3 years. I lived in Germany for 3 years. I've visited a lot of countries and seen the way of life a lot of people have experienced in the way that they live and eat and so on. But at the same time, even countries around the world, they still think that the supermarket, you need to buy these prepackaged meals and these boxed foods and stuff like that. And you're still ingesting all these preservatives and chemicals and fertilizers and pesticides. And it's a pandemic more so than anything else that we are experiencing in the world today is the food that we eat. And if we can heal the food we eat, we will heal ourselves and heal humanity. And that's ultimately what I believe and why I'm so passionate about talking about this.
Yeah.
It's a great message. Thank you so much for sharing that with everybody, because you're right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know I'm long-winded sometimes, and I probably over-explain things, but I don't want to have these conversations. And I've watched podcasts in the back to where somebody just briefly touches on something they're interested in or something they're trying to convince people of as a good way of life or path to go down or try to convey their experience. And I don't want to leave questions that I know that I've had in the past unanswered in these explanations and descriptions, because I want somebody to be able to come here and grab this information and be like, holy shit, that makes a lot of sense, rather than just scratching the surface and not covering it in depthly to where they're just like, yeah, that doesn't really make a sense. It doesn't really, I don't really quite understand the whole broad picture of it. You know what I mean?
You can't open a door and then not fucking walk through it. Sorry.
Right. Yeah.
No, I did it. Didn't mean to, but I
That's
did
all right. You know,
In the
Must
dark.
have been the only one of the show, and it had to be me.
yeah, put $1 in the jar, right?
I know, right? I didn't bring the jar tonight.
I definitely have
When you open that door, you got to walk through it. And thank you very much. Totally appreciate your knowledge base is fantastic on this.
Absolutely.
See the picture and be able to put the picture into context of possibility, which is wonderful. People want to know these things are possible, that they're not so far extended and distended outside of themselves that it only happens in other places. No, it can happen for you. It absolutely can.
Yeah. And if you got dead soil, one thing I want to touch on that a lot of people have struggled with in the past that I've recognized. And, you know, there's a movement going on right now with so many people that are becoming homesteaders in the United States. And it's not really highly publicized and people aren't really seeing it, but it's happening. And I would say that I'm in that circle. I'm in that community. But a lot of people, they think, well, I've got dead land. It's, you know, it's been overgrazed, over fertilized, over farmed, whatever. The best way to regenerate your soil is by rotationally grazing livestock. Really is, because you're feeding the livestock grain and feeds, healthy feeds and hays from other healthy lands, bringing them in when you feed hay, bringing them in when you feed, and they're using the restroom that's going through their digestive system, and those seeds and stuff like that are going through and getting fertilized. They're going onto the ground and you rotate them. And that's the best way to regenerate your soil, is by rotationally grazing multiple types of livestock, because of how they individually eat different parts of the grass, different weeds and stuff like that, and fertilizing the ground in more ways. And then you keep rotating them and it cuts down on that parasite cycle. That's the best way to regenerate the land, is by rotational agriculture. And all the seeds, you're like, oh, well, I don't have, I need to overseed. I need to buy seed and bring it in. All the seed you need is historically in the soil. You don't have to worry about it. God has put those seeds there. You rotationally graze, you fertilize it, you get it water, those seeds will pop up and you'll have beautiful lush green forage for your animals and for yourself and for the environment and for the, you know, the indigenous animals and stuff like that.
Circle of life.
It really is, guys. If you ever get a chance, there's a book that I encourage everybody, you two, to read, and it might not be up your alley or what you're interested in. You're not going to become a farmer or a homesteader. Anybody listening to this podcast, if you get the chance, listen to, you can find it on Audible or read the book. If you prefer to read, it's up to you. It's called The Marvelous Pigness of Pigs. And I don't have my hard copy here. It is, I actually loaned it out. Marvelous Pigness of Pigs. And it is an absolutely eye-opening, incredible book. And it's by an author named Joel Salatin. And if you don't know Joel, you can find him on YouTube. Incredible human being. And I encourage all of y'all to listen or read this book.
Was he a police officer?
No, Joel Salatin is a second generation organic farmer from the United States. He lives in the Shenandoah Valley in Virginia.
Wow.
And
tongue in cheek.
His father.
Yeah, you got that now.
His father was worked for the U.S. FDA, and he did I miss something?
Yeah.
Yeah, the marvelous pigness of pigs. I didn't know if he was like a pig, like a police officer.
Oh, my bad, dude. My bad. I
You're
missed that
Dude,
joke. I get it, yeah.
seriously.
Sorry, man. My mind's in a completely different direction.
You're in agriculture mode, brother.
But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yes, and the clowns are listening.
brief history of him. His father
They're
worked
taking
in the
notes
US
right now.
FDA in Argentina, no, Venezuela. And he was in charge of in charge of going into countries and helping stimulate their agriculture. And it was before Venezuela was taken over by communism. And Maduro came in, or his predecessor came in and took over the country and forcibly took his family's land that they owned 100 acres out of Venezuela and confiscated it back. And they were forced to flee back to the United States. And his dad bought land in Shenandoah Valley in Virginia. And now he is the inheritor of that land. And they do rotational grazing. And the ratio of cow per acre for grazing is usually 1 cow per 2 acres ish, 2.5 acres. And he's increased that to 10 cows per acre because of rotational grazing and a symbiotic relationship between multiple types of rotational grazing of livestock. And they took this barren, just overgrazed, overfarmed land and turned it into this lush oasis. And he regularly accepts anybody that wants to come to his farm. They can come and they can stay the night. They house them, and anybody. And if you want to come work and experience what they do and how they farm and this way of life and new but old way of farming to heal our land, he regularly encourages anybody to come and visit the farm. And it's called Polyface Farms in Virginia, if any of y'all want to ever look it up. And it's an incredible story, and I've read multiple of his books, and just a wonderful human being, and what, in my opinion, I'm trying to aspire to be similar to. And because I honestly think that's the way the Creator wants us to live, take care of ourselves and the beings that were put on this earth for us to consume and sustain us, because there cannot ever be any life without death. And that's what most people don't understand. It doesn't matter if you're a plant, it doesn't matter if you're an animal, it doesn't matter what species you are, something else has to die in order for you to live. And that's the way of the world. And as long as we can do it humanely and taking care of our world and other species around us, that's the way that I think we should be doing it. And what's happening right now with our modern society and modern rush, do this, get that, grocery store, all this stuff, it's destroying the world around us. And I think that we should be the conservators of our world.
Yeah, and I wish more people thought that way so they could bring about that change. Because in this whole agricultural discussion, we've talked about it again and again and again, where it comes back to the cycle of what they try and perpetuate as negativity by, just like you said, kind of trying to wrap it all up.
Yeah.
Sustainable farming agricultural practices that yields healthier, more nutritious food that gets sold at farmers markets that people can now have access to, that makes their lives better, improves their way of thinking, their way of life, that help improve the agricultural processes that are benefiting them. And that's the positive cycle we want to encourage. And I wish that's what we want to see happen.
It would heal so
lifting
much.
the wrong vibration and frequency as well continually. It's a circular thing.
Yeah, guys.
That was perfect. That was a great segue. Not only I learned a ton, by the way, not joking. I learned a lot right there.
I'm remembering a lot because there's so much agriculture around from. And we used to go out onto the farms and work on the farm.
Well, good, guys. There's really been nowhere that I've been able to convey my thoughts and what I think about that. So thank you for the opportunity to share.
Oh, yeah. That was wonderful. And it even tied into, you even used the P word. I'm pretty sure Lexi came up here. She heard parasites and she's like ran up here. I heard shuffling outside the door.
That's funny, man.
Somebody see parasites? I'm just kidding. That's how she
sounds like. Where is it that we can find your story, your information on what y'all are covering with biohacking and stuff like that?
Sure. So the best place right now is YouTube and Rumble. We're constantly in this transition of upgrading and moving around our video files, because we constantly seem to be getting censored. Not so much that we're even being aware that I'm not being notified that I'm breaking any rules is what I'm saying, but I guess it's harder for people to find our videos here now. So we are putting them on YouTube, and that's where people need to go to kind of recap on all the biohacking
What's
videos.
The channel?
It is, let me pull it up right here. Let me just be approximate. Get it for you.
McCormick, you hit it on the head, brother. You hit it on the head with the ingesting those stressed out meats and stuff like that.
Yeah. Many people don't even think about that. But the thing is, you actually can use your hands and you can lay a prayer on your food. You can change its vibration. Dr. Yamoto from Japan has done this extensive study on water and how to change the frequency of water. Literally, I've done this literally at this table here in this house. I've tested this on a friend of mine where I got one plastic bottle of water, poured it into a glass bottle, put the word love on the bottle, let it sit overnight, and then got my friend the following day 2 glasses, 1 glass of the bottled water from the glass with love written on it, and 1 from the plastic. Please taste both of those and tell me what you think. She's got a very pure palate as well. So she was able to do this. And without a doubt, she said one was metallic and the other one was beautiful. I explained the process to her, and that's literally through the vibration of the word. Letters have frequency to them, like even here on my cap, that has frequency. Everything around you has frequency.
All of it.
You can put this positive frequency into your food. You can alter its genetic makeup, its vibration, and you can make it more wholesome to your body, to your vessel.
100%. You know, I carry a cobalt.
It doesn't matter about hocus pocus. It's real. It doesn't matter about your belief system, people. Your belief system is only there as your insulation. Your insulation to protect you from those things around you that annoy you or piss you off or you think are fearful. There's so much happening outside of everyone's protection zone. So much, like an infinite amount of things are happening on a daily basis. So outside of your belief system, just step outside of your belief system and begin to understand that these things are very real.
They really are, man. I carry a cobalt blue bottle that is got the symbol for gratitude etched onto the glass.
Nice.
And
Nice.
what happens with cobalt blue glass, it acts as a prism that absorbs sunlight even more so than any other type of glass. And it stores that energy and the water inside. And it's the only thing I keep inside of it. And I carry it everywhere that I go.
Great.
It's a symbol of gratitude on this cobalt blue bottle. It's got one of those metal pop tops on it that are constantly, some beers have them. It's like a cork on the top that's plastic and it's got a metal spring and you boop, pop it
Dude,
up.
those are the bottles here that I have. They're called a Grolsch bottle top.
Gross follows. Yeah, I've got one of those and it's cobalt blue. It's nice.
I've got a
and
stack
big.
of them and I've got love written on all the bottles in the full of
Dude.
water.
And I carry that everywhere that I go. And I swear the
Yeah.
water tastes better than anywhere else. And my kids,
Yeah.
if they see the bottle, they will run up and drink Dad, can I have a drink of water? And they
Yeah.
love my bottle and they
Yes.
want to drink it all the time. And I'm telling you, and I get to some of the funniest looks and it's an awesome conversation starter at the gym or in a
Yeah.
public place. You're like, what is it? Why are you carrying that bottle around? And I use the same story to explain what I'm explaining to y'all right now. And people are like,
Yeah.
whoa, that's crazy. And some people probably think I'm nuts, but I'm not concerned about that. But it's the
Doesn't matter.
opportunity to convey
Doesn't matter what they think.
this story. You know what I mean? I don't care, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
and my
there's also
kids
another-
constantly are like, this is the best. And there's no ice in it, no nothing, but it's always
Yeah.
so cool and just such a wonderful, and it's awesome. It's awesome.
There's
And
a
I have
lady-
well water too. So
There's a lady down in Florida and she has, she's on Instagram. I joined Instagram simply because of
it's all good.
my webpage. Point is, she's there and I'll follow her along and she's called Water Mama, something like that. Okay. She's a free spirit. She's awesome, but she has Kangen water, which is electrolyzed water, which is the only water that she can drink. So it's a different water process. Yet, if you think about it, like molecules of water with an electric charge to them, and we are literally that anyway. Can you imagine how boosting that is?
Oh, 100%.
Yes. Oh, I mean, that, if you could
Kangen
get that.
water.
Kangen
Yeah.
water.
Kangen water and water mom something. And she
Does it
is
come
on.
from kangaroos.
I know, right?
Sorry.
Kangen water.
Low hanging fruit there.
Yes.
Kangen water. Aqua ionizer. It's an aqua ionizer.
That
7
sounds
water
right.
I
settings
wonder what
help
that tastes like.
alkaline water filtration.
And she's
system
called mostly
produces
water mama. That's what she calls
4.5
herself.
in alkaline water.
Mostly water, mama. On wow, they're really plugging it out there today for people. Anyone else need a plug?
Yeah, who else needs a plug? Hello? Hey, yeah, we can do a plug. Yes. All right, hold on.
That's
I'll be
awesome.
back to you later, Hosen. Yeah. Stretch those legs,
Dude,
darling.
You know,
Here we
next
are
time
back
I'm
at
going to show up
Lederhosen.
with my Lederhosen on.
Well, what we should do is we should do that hike in New Mexico, and when we get to the top of the mountain, we'll put on the Lederhosen at the tippy top.
Ricola.
Yeah.
I do not want to see those pictures. I will be elsewhere.
Hey, they'll be appropriate.
No,
They'll
do
be
it. Take
smoldering,
pictures.
but
Send
appropriate.
pictures.
All right, yes, we'll be lots of
I can't
pictures.
do right. What was that? I can't do right turns.
I can't turn left. Yeah, what was that? Ben Stiller, Zoolander,
Yes.
right?
Zoolander.
That's
I can't do
classic.
right turns.
He does a full 360.
I know, right? Lunatic. Yeah, that'll be something to look forward to. Take the photographs, dude, and send them to us when you are on that mountain.
Oh, definitely, man. Definitely. I hope we can keep these podcasts going, man.
Yeah.
I cherish these. I really do.
More
know
talks
something?
about chicken and Kangen water,
Chicken, Kangen water, world politics, global politics, Russia,
hiking.
all there, literally. But you know something? It's just having a laugh. You know, it's so much more relaxing and easy to go through this while having a laugh.
For sure. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You know, I don't
Yeah,
want
let me
anybody
get-
stealing my loosh. You know, you're not stealing my loosh. None of these,
Exactly.
social media, tech companies, media.
Yeah.
I'm not going to act the way that you're trying to coach me to act. I'm going to do what makes me happy, be with who
Yeah.
makes me happy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be the change in the world that I want to see. And that's
Yeah.
like why I was get back to the whole cooking with my kids and
Yes.
stuff like that.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. That's a really, really.
And then
sweet-
raising the animals too. I mean, they participate
Yeah.
in that, you know, and my 5-year-old son is having a battle with our rooster. You know, they don't quite they're challenging each other for dominance right now. And
The
my
alpha in
5-year-old
that
son will
situation
get
right
upset
now.
and cry, and I have to run out there and rescue him. And the rooster will get mad. And oh man, it's a fun experience, but it's a good time.
Like, sounds like Rooster Fight Club.
Yeah, I mean, the rooster's trying to protect his flock, right? That's what his job is. Just like males are supposed to protect, our females. You know, we're supposed to do that. And the rooster is just doing what he is, programmed to do by the Creator, by God, and he's doing his job. But you know, he sees this young little kid walk out there, and he's obviously not the alpha, which I am. You know what I mean? And he sees this.
Not me,
young
then
dude
who?
coming in, and right, it's funny to see. It's a funny clash between, you know, my son that's trying to stand up and be strong and learn to be a man, and even at 5 years old, and he's like, oh gosh, and he runs out and he's screaming, and the rooster's chasing him, and it's wild, man. It's a wild time, but it's a fun experience.
Wow, and see, we're right back at the basics of everything, the fundamentals. Just
Yeah.
that's how things are. That's the root cause. It's the rawness, right?
Yeah,
Chasing
I think
roosters.
life has got so convoluted by all of this.
Take a break from life, chase a rooster.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Life has got so complicated in our society from all this convoluted projected ideology.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And
So
people
much
just
fear. Fear porn everywhere.
get back to the
Spiritual
basics.
porn everywhere.
What can I do to affect the world around me in a positive way? And what can I, there's just we got to come to the realization some things we're not going to be able to.
And if you feel like you're fighting the current, take a stop and laugh after you breathe and drop the distractions. That's step one, I think. Take a note from my playbook. Just realize you're distracted. Allow yourself to see that you're distracted and just breathe, stop, slow down, and have a laugh, because even after 2 hours, 3 hours of talking or thinking about it, we're fine. Seriously, we're okay. We are okay. We're fine. We're not going to be able to deal with these things like we talked about before in the past, where down the road, which could be tomorrow, could be in a few hours from now, could be in a few years from now, there's not going to be the opportunity to address the trauma, to address the stress, right? To address the problems when the shit hits the fan and goes flying beyond it. Now is the good time to. Now is the right time that we should all take a second to focus.
You ever hear the saying, today is the tomorrow you were worried about yesterday?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, it literally just stop, take stock of where you are at any second. The past is literally there as a reference where not to go in the future.
You know, here's another thing too.
Present, stay in the perfect present.
Right. This is something I was telling my daughter the other day. She's first year playing volleyball, and she really enjoys it, but she's not as good as she would like to be. And I use the story of Chinese bamboo. Chinese bamboo is a really miraculous plant. And what happens is it's planted, it's put underground, the seed, and you water it, and a year goes by, you never see anything. Might not even be there, but you still need to keep watering it. And the next year goes by. You've been, religiously out there watering it every day, and you still don't see anything. Next year goes by, third year, water it, don't see anything, all the way out to the sixth year. And on the sixth year, it will grow 80 feet in a day. And that's the truth of all of our reality. You can't expect to see immediate change in your life when you're trying to progress through these tough times, these difficult times, but it's that constant and enduring improvement and consistency that you're trying to work on your goals and do stuff like that. And if you give up, it's never going to change. And the reason why that it won't show for 6 years is because it'll grow 80 feet in a day. And if it doesn't have a very secure root system, it'll completely topple over. Well, you're building that foundation in your life so that once you get to that next challenging event or next stage in your life, you've got that root system. And if you never work on the little things like the root system, you're never going to be able to progress. And that's why we need constant improvement toward our goals. And that's just like with the truth movement and living the way that we're talking about, biohacking, getting that foundation so that we can pursue our goals. If we don't have those foundations in place, we're not going to have the nutrients in place to be able to sustain us and work long hours and pursue those high stress types of goals that we would have not been able to otherwise without that root system. So, don't get discouraged about how long it takes to reach your goals. Time's going to pass anyway. Just like you said, Cormac is today is yesterday's tomorrow. You know what I mean? And
today is the tomorrow you were worried about yesterday, and all this. Just don't be a freaking panda bear.
But
that's true.
Yeah, the best day to plant a tree is 50 years ago or today. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Like, what is that about? A man that plants a tree will never have the joy of sitting in its shade, yet it will be there.
Yeah. So yeah. It's there's a lot of truth to those colloquialisms of the past,
because they come from somewhere.
They do.
They come from someone's experience, somewhere they're remembered because they have depth. There is wisdom.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's a reason why that exists, and it continues to pass on. And that's, again, why it's so important to have these discussions, is so that those thoughts don't get lost.
Mm-hmm.
True story, bro. True story.
Yeah, they haven't gotten lost today, that's for sure.
No, hard no. Neither have the puns, which is good.
In a world that fears a supply chain crisis, it's good to have a friend for small businesses and shippers. Whether it's 1 to 10 pallets or a full climate-controlled van load, AAA Brokerage is eager and willing to assist you in your logistical needs. Contact us today for a rate quote to get started.